fury of the Apostle Paul against the apostles of Christianity. This theme has already been addressed. The first topic to be covered under this heading, theme is entitled, God Doesn't Beg You. I invite you to respectfully refer to it or ask us to do so. We would be delighted that we would do our utmost, that you come into possession of this, a presentation that's well worth the effort. In terms of a paradigm shift between what we've been calling the inverted gospel of Christianity on the one hand, and the paradigm of the Davidic Christ as set out in the scriptures. Another topic, still on this theme, concerning the Apostle Paul's fury against the apostles of Christianity. I was entitled, The Biblical Methodology Established by the Apostles. We have shown its existence in the scriptures the way it was constituted over time experiences. Donc, prophets and apostles on the foundation of Ephesians chapter 2:20, but also Joshua 1:8 and 1 Peter 1:10. We have shown that there is therefore a biblical methodology and that it was established by the apostles based on the experiences these same apostles had, and before them the prophets too. And we went on to show that in reality what happens in Acts chapter 17, especially verse 11, is that the Bereans knew this methodology and simply applied it by introducing this notion of conformity testing, which consists in crash testing. Everything a preacher says comes from God, and everything we hear, because we have previously grasped and covered Romans chapter 10, verse 17, which invites us not only to have faith, but above all, we have to make sure that this faith is based on the word of Christ, on the doctrine of Christ, and by no means on anything or based on fables or human traditions, to use the expression of Colossians chapter 2, 18. We have also seen the biblical foundations of this methodology established by the apostles. The corresponding verses have been highlighted, stated, and dissected. I invite you to consult them. And finally, we have proceeded an inventory of the steps that must be rigorously followed in respect of this foundation to emulate the people of Berea and to ensure that we avoid the risks that exist with environment characterized, especially at the end of the French era. Finally, in our generation, by widespread confusion, but which had been also announced in the scriptures, notably in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 9, but it would be helpful to read the first 11 verses. In chapter 2 of the second epistle to the Thessalonians, but also 2 Corinthians 11, verse 4, where we see Satan has disguised himself as an angel of light, and many other Bible verses, especially Matthew 24:24. There will be many Christ and many others, biblical references that I invite you to consider by referring to these previous presentations, which are, I reiterate, available. So today, having set out the biblical methodology established by the apostles, the time has come, is the title of this presentation, the practical application of the biblical established by the apostles. On the question of whether does Paul's gospel, which he himself calls my gospel in 2 Timothy 2:8, is Paul's gospel and the gospel of Christianity a match? Are they aligned? Are they in osmosis? Do they are two identical, converging, preaching the same person and the same gospel? Or on the contrary, are there differences? And if there are differences, how far do the differences go? Do these differences concern important points? So many questions. We will rigorously follow the 3 steps outlined in the stages of biblical methodology